County Quorum Board meeting is designed on order. Good afternoon. Glad you guys are out this evening. I do want to say something brief before we get started and open up with our prayer and pledge. We look around our country and there's been quite a bit going on, and we just had a police officer killed in Newport. We had obviously the representative out in Washington. We had the families out in San Francisco. So I just wanted us to take time to think about our political landscape, and that we are all working toward the same purpose, which is to have better communities, better families. And so as we get ready to go into our meeting, I want to keep that in mind as I ask Justice Maxwell to lead us in our prayer and pledge.
I just ask as we pray tonight, if you would keep these families in mind. It's got to be fantastic. The sheriff that was killed in Newport is Lieutenant Patrick Weatherford. You've all seen on the news the shooting at the congressional baseball practice, and the families, as he mentioned, in San Francisco with the UPS encounter there. Not too long ago, there was a deputy killed in the Dardanelle area as well. So we're all in this together, and I think we understand where they're at and where they're coming from. And if that was one of ours, I know that would be a major catastrophe in our community. So I just ask as we pray tonight that you can keep them in mind. Dear Lord, thank you so much for what you've given us and how much you've entrusted in us. God, I just pray today for these families that are affected by these tragedies. God, and I pray for our nation and our communities that we would have the right heart, the right motive, and the right attitude as we work with each other. And God, I pray for protection over our county, for our workers, our employers, our employees, and our law enforcement. And God, I just pray that you would lead us and guide us tonight as we make decisions. Give us the right heart and the right methods. And God, help us to understand the right mission. And we ask that in your name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Justice Maxwell. Okay, we'll go ahead and begin with roll call. Ms. Jamie.
Here. Harvey Owen. Here. Ellie Evans. Here. Robert Dennis.
Here.
Lisa Ecke. Here. Ann Harbison. Here. Joe Kicklack.
Here.
Tom Lundstrom.
Here.
Eva Madison. Here. Sue Madison. Here. Joel Maxwell.
Here.
Joe Patterson.
Here.
Butch Paul.
Here.
Bill Ussery.
Here. All right, thank you, Ms. Jamie. And we need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. Judge, I believe there's an ordinance to add that's attached loose leaf. It's an appropriation ordinance for the Juvenile Court Grant Fund. We need to add that. And then I would like, I see Mr. Bradley is here, and he has been coming to us for many years, and I know this will probably be his last time before us. And so in honor of his retirement, I would like to just let him go home tonight and not have to be grilled by us with questions, or if he has, it looks like he may have some introductions to make, but I think out of respect to him and his retirement, we could just accept his written report and send him our well wishes and let him enjoy his evening. So if it's okay, they might want to say a few things, but I think we should waive his report. So I would make the motion that we adopt the agenda with those changes.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second, the amended adoption of the agenda. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay. With the adoption of the agenda, we move into our citizens' comments, and our first citizen I would like to have maybe is Mr. Bradley. Make a few comments.
Well, I'm not retired yet, but I certainly...
Come on. Take your last seat in the chair. State your name for the record.
Bill Bradley, CEO of Washington Regional. I think about 3 of you have been at every meeting I've been to over the last 13 years. And I know J.P. Pond and J.P. Harbison and is there, yeah, J.P. Patterson.
I use your hospital facilities about every time you go.
Yep. It's learning through repetition. But anyway, I've had a great time at Washington Regional, very supportive board. In case you haven't noticed, we got a lot done. And there's a handout each of you have, and I think an electronic copy as well. And if you have any questions about any of that, you know where to find me for the next 2 or 3 months. So, but anyway, and I've appreciated the support that you guys have given us as well. I think one of our, in 08, our bond issue came through the county. So we appreciate that. And my successor, Larry Shackelford, is here as well.
All right.
And I think the board made a good choice there. And we're working very hard to be for a smooth transition that's not even noticeable to folks like y'all. Very smooth.
Well, any questions for Justice Harbison?
I don't want to make any questions, but I want to thank him for his leadership and the expansion, and probably the #1 health facility in the state of Arkansas is he's gotten it to that
Yeah, I won't
under his
argue with you.
leadership. You wouldn't argue with the #1 facility,
No, I
I'm
wouldn't.
sure. And I want to just thank you for your hard work. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Any other comments? Again, thank you very much for your service. I understand today around noon you guys did get your financing done through the Arkansas Finance Development Authority.
Yep, we
the
were
bonds.
in some time constraints, and so we probably won't need to go through the county this time. But
Gotcha.
The construction's not stopping. Unfortunately, I think we could use a break, but you got to meet community need.
That's right.
So
Well,
that's
thank
what
you
we're
again
about.
for your service. Appreciate you, and you're welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of the meeting.
You're kidding,
And
right?
welcome aboard, welcome aboard, Mr. Shackelford. Thank you. Any other
you.
public comments? Any other public comments? Okay. All right. Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you,
Justice
Mr. Chairman.
Madison.
I have read both sets of minutes, and I will confess that I was not at the last meeting, so if you'll let me, I will move approval of the minutes because I found them to be perfect.
All right.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Approval of the minutes. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay.
May I also make my standard motion that we suspend the rules and read the 2 ordinances by title only?
It's been moved and properly seconded to suspend the rules to read by title only the ordinances. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right. Ozark Transit, you're up.
Thank you, Judge. Ladies and gentlemen of the court, my name is Jeff Hatley with Ozark Regional Transit. I'm the Public Information Officer, here to give the latest report on several different things we've got going on. I didn't send a monthly statistical report because it's not ready yet. It's just one of those things that'll probably be out in a couple of days, and I will certainly send that to everybody on the contact list. But I did make some notes here of some things going on. We've got several free fare promotions going on right now. One is the Kids Ride Free program, 17 and under ride all of our fixed route buses throughout the summer up until Labor Day, going by the Aquatic Center and all the summer programs put on by the local libraries, as well as some of the free lunch programs put on by the public schools. We've also got this week, which is good, obviously tomorrow, the Dump the Pump Week is a free fare week that we observe every year as a way of giving back to the community. It's a national program. It's a Dump the Pump Day, and it's just a way to promote public transportation and the benefits of it and how it can positively affect the dependence on foreign oil and that sort of thing. But the biggest news we've got is not a promotion, it's a policy change. And as of June 5th, we have decided to begin letting all veterans ride our buses for free, all of our fixed route systems for free. They need only show a military ID or a driver's license with a designation that they're a veteran, or a VA, just any kind of government-issued card, and they ride our buses for free. Been in contact with Wanda Scholes over at the VA, and we're working to coordinate her schedule, my schedule, our respective bosses' schedule, and try to figure out how best we can get that information out to the veterans here in Northwest Arkansas, and obviously working within the limitations of the VA since they're not allowed to really endorse one thing or another. But there's certainly ways. She mentioned a Facebook page and a newsletter that they send out, and then we can obviously go and do some presentations to whatever groups that they deem appropriate. We started the thing on the free Veterans Riding Free on June 5th, but it was approved at a board meeting about a week or so ahead of that, and a reporter went ahead and posted that in the newspaper, and so we had veterans the very next day wanting to ride for free. We just went ahead and honored it. We already had a way of accounting for it anyway, and so we've had 314 veterans ride free from May 30th through 6/9, and I say 6/9 because this week we had the Dump the Pump week, which was free fare for everybody, so we didn't designate if somebody was veteran or anything else. So this week was not counted in those numbers. In rural Washington County, which is obviously this group's focus, we've had 298 riders in May as compared to 250 in April, so it is trending up. We are obviously in the process of recovering from the fire that we had back in January, and we are purchasing 3 new buses from the Arkansas Highway Transportation Department. They're plain white, high floor, 16 to 18 seats buses. That's through a 5311 federal grant that's processed through the state, and then we will match that 20%. I believe it's $155,000 for 3 buses, which our part would be $31,000 for 3 new buses. The 5311 federal grant is designed for use in rural communities. So therefore, the 3 buses that we get, our plan is to put one over in Berryville, which we have a driver and a bus over there. It's an older bus, and it really needs to be replaced. And these buses will obviously have more capacity. So one in Berryville and Carroll County, and then the other 2 will be in rural Washington and Benton County. So we're going to use those as demand response vehicles. We're coordinating with the transportation departments in Texas and Oklahoma through an interstate cooperative contract, and we'll be purchasing between 5 and 6 buses through Oklahoma's. And the reason is because they put out specs for a low floor or kneeling bus, kind of like what Razorback Transit uses. And since they've already put out the bids and the specs and gotten all the bids back, they're already ahead of the game. And so getting in with that process, we can complete the order within just a couple weeks, and then it'll be a 90-day lead time for actually getting the buses after that. So we hope to have those in the coming months as well. I mentioned last time that not only did we lose buses in the fire, but we also lost the radios in the fire that allows us to communicate bus to bus and also bus to dispatch. We also lost the GPS tracking and the bicycle racks and the Wi-Fi and all that sort of thing. Well, the radios is our biggest problem, and so our IT department has been working on that, and they're currently testing routers with a new radio system, and they're putting all the pieces together and testing the overall system to make sure everything works together, and then they will begin implementation of that entire system once everything is proven to work well with one another. I don't have any new numbers for you. Like I say, I will send those out when they become available, probably next week. It's usually when Kendall gets those things out. So that's my report. I'm happy to answer any questions or comments or address any concerns.
Justice Harbison.
On the demand response, are we getting many calls?
Well, we had 298 rides, so I would assume, yes, that we're getting more.
And that was all demand response?
Yes, ma'am. 298 rides in rural Washington County.
In rural Washington County. Okay, we don't know what areas, though. I mean, we don't know how many demand response we had in West Fork. You don't have that information?
I don't have it yet. That's this page right here. This is from April's numbers, and so when May's comes out, that will be part of the report. It'll show exactly where those
Okay, thank
rides
you.
initiated. Mm-hmm.
Justice Harvey Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. How many buses was it you're going to buy with those specs from Oklahoma?
5 to 6 is what I was told.
5 or 6. Mm-hmm. What capacity are these buses?
I didn't write that down, but I believe, let me see if there's in my other notes. But I think they're the medium size, or about 20 seats.
Okay.
So
All right.
they're not the large buses like we've got on loan, but they're not small either.
Are they, you said it's got a lower floor in them?
Yes, sir. It's it pulls up to the curb and then it kneels down so that it's a
that's
ramp.
fancy stuff.
It's a ramp that goes out instead of a lift that goes up. The lift is fine. The kids that touch the truck love it, but it's obviously a lot more maintenance, a lot more parts and everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are they wheelchair accessible?
Everything that we get is wheelchair accessible.
Fantastic. Okay. What about the radio systems? What kind of radios are you talking about?
This is out of my wheelhouse right here when we start talking about the IT stuff. All I know is that it's going to be a cell phone tower-based system rather than just the CB radio waves.
So it'd be like you have internet on the buses?
Well, it's for contact between the buses, but it's supposed to be a clearer contact, and I believe you'll also have the option of being able to talk to just another bus or just dispatch without everybody else hearing it.
So that's probably also related to the thing that people can see on their phones where the buses are located?
That's the GPS tracking. That's a different thing.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
But I think they all kind of work together, and don't get me lying about how that
thank
works.
You. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Hadley, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Let's see where we Washington Regional. Okay, judges report, and that would be me. Well, I think when we started last month's meeting, I started with a big thank you to the citizens of the county for their help and support, the elected officials, the JPs, and the citizens coming out and helping us really work through those storms in April, and some of it kind of led to May. And I'm happy to say that this morning I received a note from the governor that the disaster relief that he declared was approved by the Trump administration, and so we got that notice. The letter pretty much stipulated and said, this morning my office received notification from the Trump administration that it has granted my request for federal disaster declaration for Arkansas counties ravaged by the severe storms, tornadoes, and flooding in April and May. A.J. Gary, the director of the Arkansas Department of Emergency Management, also said Thursday morning, I received a call from FEMA noting that the approval of the declaration has happened. The declaration is a direct result of the dedication and hard work of the ADM team, FEMA, county judges, emergency managers, as well as the leadership of the governor. Arkansas's Department of Emergency Management and federal and FEMA officials will soon announce plans to open up offices throughout the affected areas to accept assistantship applications, and that's both for public as well as individual assistance. And our director, John Luther, will be working with Chief Gales as we look to help them find a place so they can send their agents in to help work through the assistance of the public and individuals. So that's underway, and so that's good. We've been working and struggling trying to figure out how we're going to continue to do this. We had 89 roads impacted and bridges impacted by the floods. We have 87 of them up and open, running. We're fortifying them, but we still have 2 that's not and that's the Brush Creek Road as well as Blue Springs Road. One is state, one is going to be needing the support of FEMA to help us get it, and they'll probably be, as we said, early January, February before we'll have those back open. But having this declaration approved will help us as far as getting dollars support. FEMA will pay, but when and how much, that's still yet to be determined. And then we also need looking at some state aid to help us with the Blue Springs Road. So again, I shared that with you this afternoon, that the declaration has been approved, and so now we'll have the FEMA agents coming in, and then we'll start waiting to see the dollars as they start helping individuals as well as others in their assistance. Our leadership team continues to excel. Again, kudos to Chief Staff Gales as well as our County Attorney Lester as we continue to navigate and work with our various departments. Working with Director Farber, I don't know if she's here, but again, we continue to sit down every month with Director Farber, our comptroller, and work with each one of our departments as far as looking at their budgets as we start really focusing in and lasering in on what's going to happen in 2018. We're looking at some reductions in our budgets and looking right now at the 3% and have been doing that for a while, and it's going to be tough. But we really think that we're going to be able to really show some traction and get some traction. The Finance and Budget Committee met this week, and last week, and they also talked about, again, many options as well as looking at how we're going to really be poised and ready for 2018. And so we're really happy that we're moving in that direction. Again, I mentioned Roads Department, again, continue to work through their fortifying their roads and bridges. We also are now back on our patch and chip and seal program that we had to stop doing to go and fix these roads that were impacted by the floods. Teams are out there, and it's happening. We got construction now going on Campbell Loop. We got the Ore Bridge now underway. So we're really getting back on track. We had our environmental team get back together. We had a special cleanup. Right after the floods, we ended up having another cleanup, and so that pulled in probably 210 tons collected. So again, the county had a lot to clean up, and so that was a really great effort by the county and the citizens coming out, really working and going through that special cleanup. Our families grew in the county, if you didn't know it, but it did this past weekend. Families grew. We had the Pet Palooza at the animal shelter. You had probably 500 families attend, and they adopted over 30 animals, 30 cats and dogs. So you had a lot of families grew their families by adding cats and dogs to the houses. So a great event for us, and hats off to our shelter and those who came out. The shelter is really moving. We barely have animals and dogs. In fact, I want to say last week we probably at one point had no dogs and cats. Right after the Pet Palooza, the few animals that were left were shipped, transitioned out. So again, that they're really working some great things over there at the shelter. Department of Emergency Management and the planning teams continue to work with FEMA. They're working with those who are living in the floodplain areas, helping them and assisting them in their moving out of those floodplain areas. They're continuing to work with FEMA. And again, I just mentioned that FEMA will be coming in here, so those guys will be helping to work, get those agents in to help them with public as well as individual assistance. Veteran Service Office had their open house. Many of you guys attended that. Again, it was well received. The veterans came out in full force. I think the added benefit was having the Vietnam Wall there, and it was really a moving experience to see those veterans really just feel appreciated and recognized, and the open house was a great opportunity to do that. And then we ended the month with the elected officials. Some of the JPs were in attendance at the memorial services at the Fayetteville National Cemetery. The governor came and he spoke as well, and so that was a great way to end the month. I wanted to inform the JPs as well as the county that we received a donation from the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation. This Monday we'll plant 20 fruit trees, and that's from the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Fruit Tree Planting Foundation. So we'll have 20 fruit trees being planted, and you guys are all welcome to do that. It's going to be at 10 o'clock, June 19th, behind the Juvenile Detention Center. So that's going to be great, and that's been worked with the JDC as well as the Veteran Service Officers and the Grants Administration team to pull that off. So the mayor's meetings continue. I will be meeting with the mayors again next week. We continue to pull together and just kind of really let them visit and talk about what's going on in their particular areas and really begin to share best practices and best ideas. Part of my visit with them is also talk about what's coming up with their budgets and have they been visiting with you as JPs. And obviously, I want to continue to encourage the JPs to visit with the mayors as the budget cycle is starting to turn up. What kind of ideas do they have? What kind of solutions they may have to some of the things that's going on in their towns as well as what's going on in the county. So that continues. Our elected official breakfasts, we continue to do that, and that's, again, just elected officials getting together and having coffee and talking about things that's going on impacting our business and what types of help we can provide to each other. And we'll be doing that again next week. Two last things. We also received word, the Crisis Stabilization Unit that all of you guys worked on and signed a joint recommendation has been recognized. We got our applications today. The application turnaround is fast. It's due June 30th. And so the Crisis Stabilization Unit is, again, three crisis stabilization units will be funded by the governor and his office to have 3 crisis stabilization units in the state. We applied as Washington County, but before we did that, we went ahead and visited with Benton County as well as Madison County to have a tri-county or regional impact. And so the JPs pulled together and signed off on a letter, as well as the JPs and the judges in Benton County and the judge out in Madison County, and sent all that request to the governor's office. So we have County Attorney Lester working on the application to get that in before June 30th. In fact, I asked him I want that done before June 26th. I think we really are poised to have that stabilization unit here. It's kind of hard when you get a county applying versus getting 3 counties saying we're willing to work together as a region to have that unit. And so it becomes a way to help those who are addicted, those with the opioid crisis, pull some of those guys out of the jail system and get them to rehab. So we're looking forward to seeing what the outcome of that will be. If you guys have your legislators, it may be great to go ahead and push a call to them, send a note to the governor. Again, I think our notice of the tri-counties pushing that, that's going to be a help. The last thing I want to share with you is June 19th is coming up, but the third Saturday in Arkansas, the third Saturday in June is designated as Juneteenth state holiday. It's an observance started in 2005. My counterpart, County Judge Hank Wilkins down in Jefferson County, was a senator at the time. Madison, I don't know, Justice Madison, were you down there with him at that 2005? You just missing? He and Governor Huckabee got together and they said that they wanted to have an observation. They had the Senate bill passed. And so the third Saturday in June is known as Arkansas Juneteenth State Holiday Observance, and it's a bill to recognize Juneteenth, and that's the abolishing of slavery. And so this Saturday, the University of Arkansas will be hosting the Juneteenth celebration. For years it had been in Springdale. This year they're bringing it down to the gardens located here at the University of Arkansas from 3 to 7. Community-wide picnic, local and regional entertainment, artists, musicians. At the end, from 3 to 7. At the end, I am looking to read the Emancipation Proclamation at the courthouse stairs. So, again, you guys, it's open to the public. It's free. It's 3 to 7 at the gardens there on campus. So, if you have any questions, that's there on site. So, anyway, that's the judge's report. I think that is all I have. Next up, we have Justice Madison.
Thank you, Judge. The first item, we didn't consider either of these at the Finance and Budget Committee, but they came through since, so we're going to go ahead and appropriate the money. But 10.1, which is the last page in your packet, Attorney Lester, if you could read the by title only.
An ordinance recognizing and approving revenue of $70,000 in the Rural Community Grant Fund for 2017.
Thank you. It looks like this is money that came through for the Sugar Mountain Road grant, and we were appropriating it for specifics associated with that. So I would move to pass 10.1.
It's been moved, properly second. We'll do a roll call. Citizen comments before we do the roll call. Any citizen comments? Okay. Ms. Jamie.
Tom Lundstrom,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Joel Maxwell, Joe Patterson, Butch Pond, Bill Ussery, Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman, Alicia Devins,
Yes.
Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke, Ann Harbison, Joe Kicklack,
Thank you, Jamie. Justice Madison.
Thank you, Judge. The second item is the one that we had added, so it's loose leaf on your desk. Mr. Lester, if you could read this one by title only.
An ordinance anticipating and appropriating revenue of $24,490 in the Juvenile Court Grant Fund for 2017.
So this is a state grant that came through and is being appropriated. It looks primarily for other professional services, which usually means outside contracts. So I don't know if I know any more than that, but I like getting money, so I moved to pass. I guess this is 11.1 now.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Citizen comments. Having none. Move properly second. Roll call, Ms. Jamie.
Tom Lundstrom,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Joel Maxwell, Joe Patterson, Butch Pond, Bill Ussery, Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman, Alicia Devins, Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke, Ann Harbison, Joe Kicklack,
Okay, Justice Madison, that's, I think, no other ones?
Other than a healthy budget discussion, that was all we did at the Budget and Finance Committee. Thank you, Judge.
It was, and I appreciate the budget meeting. I really do. That was good. Committee reports. Let's go with County Services. Robert Dennis, Justice Dennis?
Yeah, we didn't have a meeting,
Okay.
and we won't have another one until August.
To August?
Yes,
Okay.
if that's okay with the members.
Well, it's you're the chair. You're the chair.
I'd like to accommodate them as well.
Public Works. Who's that?
That's me.
Justice Bowman.
Judge, we didn't have a meeting, but I'd like to make a comment about this grant. We just read about $70,000. Guys, you know, I think y'all know I've been really aggressive in this road thing, especially sediment running in the river. I think it's 2 years ago, 1 year ago, I went down to Little Rock, down to Conway to participate in a meeting with the folks that's trying to get this kind of thing done to minimize sediment. And we talked about this project. They granted the $70,000 on. Our grants people did a great job. I think it's probably one of the bigger grants that's been made out like this. And there were other people in Benton County and so forth, other counties that applied for this. And we came home in the winter. And it's going to be a phenomenal contribution. From what I understand from the chief of staff, that they're going to be a matching fund, and they're going to modify Sugar Mountain Road up the hill and chip and seal that as well. So this is going to be a dramatic improvement to runoff into the river down there, and a great improvement for the road. Thank you, Judge.
All right. Personnel. Justice Ecke.
Thank you, Judge. The Personnel Committee met on June 5th, Monday. Director Watson distributed a rough draft of the employee handbook for the justices on the committee to review. At this point, our next step in the process is to get together with County Attorney Mr. Lester, Director Watson, and myself to review, plan, and strategize where we want to go from there, and if any other updates need to be made at that time. The second item that was discussed is just trying to recognize the employees for a job well done, and I think the snack fund is now fully funded. So it did take 8 minutes out of our meeting, so thank you.
Excellent. Justice Maxwell, Chels.
We did forego our last two meetings for a couple of reasons. Most prominent was that floods had given our officers and our road department and everybody else plenty to do, so we didn't want to waste their time or take them when they had other priorities. But this time there were, besides the routine reports, there were two things that kind of were worth noting. One is the sheriff shared with us that the demographic as far as the kind of prisoners that we have at the jail have shifted. The state prisoners, as you know, we don't get reimbursed well, but we do get reimbursed. And for the first time in a long time, without a lot of great ability to predict this, we have fewer of those prisoners than we do, I guess for lack of a better description, the non-paying customers. And so that's shifting some of our budget concerns there. It's something for us to keep in mind. And then he also broached the idea that the potential of Springdale closing their city jail, as well as the need as the population grows in Washington County. Eventually those things combined may require that we look at expanding our jail to accommodate even more folks there. So that's obviously way off in the future, but the question's out there, so that gives us something to think about. So that was the extent of our meeting, Judge.
Thanks. Thanks, Justice Maxwell. Ordinance review, Justice Ussery.
We did not meet. However, I had a lengthy meeting with Mr. Lester, and we have a number of people working on the various ordinances, and we hope to have the bulk of those at our next meeting to review. Thank you.
Excellent. That's ordinance. What else we have? Other business. Other business. Justice Dennis.
I believe if we're going to ask the county to reduce their budget, we need to step forward and lead the way and reduce our budget. I would move that we reduce the Quorum Court budget for 2017 by 3%.
Oh, okay. You guys talk about that at your finance budget meeting? Okay.
So we can't do it now, we'd have to do it then? Yes, okay.
Sure.
Well, I think that's something we should consider then.
Gotcha.
So, at the
Justice
finance
Madison.
meeting.
Justice Madison.
I think I don't disagree with you. I think one of the things we need to think about, though, is every time we meet, it costs money. That's the bulk of our expenses. And so just cutting our budget doesn't really fix the problem. We have to make a conscious effort to reduce our meetings. And so until we do that, we won't be able to cut our budgets. Because if everybody were to call a committee meeting every month, then we're going to go over the budget. And so any 3% reduction won't have an effect. So I think if we're going to go toward that goal, then we need to start thinking about ways to reduce our meetings or do something else, because that's the only way we can meaningfully do it. Because once we have a meeting, we have to be paid. It's state law to some extent. So,
Justice Dennis.
I understand that. However, I thought there was a maximum amount, and after you met that maximum amount, you didn't get paid for meetings. You came for free.
we don't hit the
Justice
maximum
Madison.
that's set in state law.
Okay.
There's a state law that sets the maximum. We don't hit it, so we're budgeting below that already, but we have a per meeting requirement that we're paid. And so if we're going to adjust our budget, the only way to do it is to reduce the meeting costs.
Well, it might be September when we meet then. For my meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that would be for this year, so thanks.
Thanks, Justice Madison, Justice Dennis. Any other business? Justice Balls.
Thanks, Judge. I had a question. If we could get an update on what's going on with the lawsuit, or if you can give an update on anything that's going on with that.
Well, we got a number, so you got to be specific.
Oh, sorry. The George Butler lawsuit.
Oh, okay. County Attorney.
So right now, the only real update is we've been assigned a judge because all the judges locally recused on that. And so at the moment, that is the only update that there is that we now have a judge and know who that'll be.
Who's going to defend the ordinance, the quorum court ordinances that there's the issue with? Who's going to defend that within the lawsuit?
The Association of Counties attorney, I believe that'll be the Rainwater firm, will be representing the county, the judge, and the employees in their official capacity, and I assume that will be who will defend any of that. The employees in their individual capacities, who were named as well, have hired an attorney as well. So there would be two attorneys, because the employees were sued both officially and individually.
So Arkansas Association of Counties is defending our ordinances, and then you guys have had to get your own attorneys? Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Justice Madison, you had a comment?
I was curious if we've retained the Rainwater firm. That usually signifies that it's covered by insurance.
Right, and I had a talk. I spoke with Jason Owens about this to see if that's something they would cover. He said specifically as to an illegal exaction, they do not cover that. However, given the nature of this lawsuit and some other implications of it, that they would in fact provide the legal representation for the county, although the fund on the illegal exaction would not, the association fund would not cover anything that was ordered on the illegal exaction. And it's I know that's kind of odd, and I wish I could tell you the exact conversation I had with him. I can't recall it at the time, but they are going to represent the county.
Well, and the reason I ask is because I seem to recall that illegal exactions weren't covered under the policy.
Correct.
And part of me wished we could have hired a local lawyer to represent the county, that a Washington County lawyer would represent Washington County. And so if there were any choice of firms, which there's not when the risk management fund covers it, which made me think, why were we using the Rainwater firm if it wasn't covered? So as the paranoid lawyer in the room, I sure hope we have it in writing from the risk management fund that they're going to be paying for those fees, because if they're not, then I think this court should consider using a Washington County attorney to defend Washington County's interest in it, because if it's not covered, they'll be looking to this body to pay them.
Sure, and I agree with that. The only reason we would use them is that it would be covered, and I'll make sure we get something in writing that we will not be charged any legal fees. And if that is the case, I would agree absolutely with you at looking at getting a local firm to represent the county if the county's going to have to pay for that.
That's one thing that I think it's frustrating for every county, because there are probably lawyers in every county of the state that if you use risk management, there's absolutely no choice in law firms.
Right.
You have to use this one law firm in Little Rock, which, for the most part, they understand the kind of suits that face counties. But this one, I think, is pretty near to Washington County and local issues. And so, but I appreciate that we seem to be on the same page there.
And I'll get in touch with Jason, and I'll send an email out to the court and let you know exactly what he has to say, and I'll make sure once we get something in writing that I get that out to everybody as well.
That's it. Joseph Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. Who is the judge that will be handling this case?
Yes, yeah, Gary Arnold. Do you remember what county? It's Benton. Yeah, right. It's Saline County. Yes, it's a judge from Saline County. Yes, something Arnold. It's Judge Arnold. I do remember that, and it is Saline County.
Justice Bowman.
I'm sorry, I'm through. That's all I need. Thank you.
Any other business? Okay, one final motion.
Move to adjourn.
It's been moved and second to adjourn. County meeting is over.